flown by Philip Pettit, plain sailing.
And Pete, you can clearly see those big bubbles on the side of the...
big blisters.
Yeah, absolutely. So it gives them, people on board, a really good view.
World War II, those blisters had movable doors in the side, and you could swing machine guns out to operate from both sides. One of the instant recognition features there. And also, you'll notice there are no wingtip floats. Well, apparently no.
This aircraft on water.
I've been very fortunate to be in one with operations off a lake. That big hole there, and you can see at the very back end of the hull there is a step, and that's one of the parts of the takeoff when you actually put the power on and it starts to rise on that hull, and it gets up on the step and then basically just releases from the water. Has a speed of about 196 miles an hour, so it was no speedster for sure. It can actually cruise down to about 125 miles an hour, but its range was incredible, up to 6,600 kilometres, or about 3,600 nautical miles. Armament of either one or two 30 calibre machine guns in the bow turret. .250 calibre in the blisters, 130 calibre in what they called a ventral position behind that fuselage step. There's actually a door that you can open up and point a machine gun down to protect the ventral part of the aircraft. It could carry 4,000 pounds of bombs, mines, depth charges, torpedoes, and some of the more inventive in the Royal Australian Air Force, they used to go out and harass the Japanese at night. What they do is they get beer bottles and they put a razor blade inside and then throw them out, and it made a hell of a din.
So a remarkable story that I was told was when a PBY piloted by Lieutenant Commander Adrian Marks rescued 56 sailors in high seas from a heavy cruiser, the Indianapolis, after the ship was sunk during World War II. And with no more room inside, the crew tied the sailors to the wings of the aircraft, and the aircraft couldn't fly in this state, so instead it acted as a lifeboat and literally taxied along to protect the all those people hanging on the outside of the aircraft from shark attack.
Well, that
Amazing.
Indianapolis is very famous because it was the ship that delivered the atom bomb to the American forces and dropped from the Enola Gate, and after leaving from undertaking that mission it was torpedoed and most of the crew died from shark attack.
It's extraordinary that this aircraft like this was able to save sailors
and
from that.
This was its mission, Dumbo operations, and you think that they did that from the comfort of distance from Japanese islands. Very often they would be there flying off the islands while the Allies were attacking the Japanese forces, and if a pilot got into difficulties, they would land under fire to pick them up. Not only flying in the Pacific, but certainly flying in the Northern Hemisphere, and leading to its destruction. US Navy Catalina also found the Japanese fleet approaching Midway Island, and a Royal Canadian Air Force Canso, which was the name that was applied to their aircraft. It discovered the Japanese fleet approaching Ceylon with the intention of destroying the Royal Navy Indian Ocean Fleet. Now, we spoke with Rick Peacock Edwards yesterday about that Japanese fleet, and his father was involved in protecting Ceylon from Trincomalee, the harbour.
And Rick is part of our display committee today, making sure that all the rules and regulations are abided by and we give you a safe and secure display to watch. So the aircraft is affectionately known as Miss Pickup, and owned and operated by Plain Sailing, and the aircraft I think is currently based at Duxford in Cambridgeshire. Paul Warren Wilson, who was looking for a Catalina to replace one that they'd had originally, but it took them a little time because they were looking for something a little bit like a house, looking something with a sound structure, a sound fuselage. They wanted those rear hull blisters. They wanted sort of very specific thing that they were looking for. So it took them some time, and this particular aircraft they found in Canada.
The first aircraft actually shot down during the Pacific campaign was a Catalina flying out of Singapore looking for the Japanese invasion fleet, and that was before Pearl Harbor. There were 2 VCs awarded to Catalina pilots. John Cruikshank in 1944 sank the U-boat U-347. He was actually wounded 72 times, but survived. Even though he was in and out of consciousness, he was able to land the aircraft and save the crew. Another was awarded to Flight Lieutenant David Hornwell, Royal Canadian Air Force, and it was a posthumous award, also for sinking the U-boat 1225.
So Miss Pickup is now majestically flying its final fly past away into the distance, and that was a beautiful display. You might think of it as a lumbering aircraft, but I think it has an absolute majesty and beauty to it.